it could happen to you. And the New York State District Attorneys Association Public Enemy #1. Something I'd be very proud of. So this first set of awards is going to go to a young group of progressive city council people from across the state. And last, in the summer of 2017, after the commission bill had once again been mysteriously set aside after it was scheduled to be voted upon, Councilwoman Tiffany Garriga from the city of Hudson, New York, said, Bill, you know, we've really got to bring this home a little bit more, and suggested we begin to get some city council resolutions from across the state. And we initiated that campaign under Tiffany's guidance and some other strong local support. So the first award tonight is going to our first public sector servant of justice award. We have 2 awards. We have a public sector servant of justice award, we have a private sector servant of justice award, and we've got the big Coyote, the Minister of Justice award, who, as we know, is going to the honorable judge later on this evening. So Tiffany, if you would come up here, and Tiffany is walking. Of young elected officials, youngest black elected officials out there in California. She was supposed to speak, but she never got the chance to speak. She just ended up being in the hospital for a moment. So, okay, so we can all feel sorry for her. So, Tiffany, the It Could Happen to You 2018 Public Justice Award presented to City Hudson Alderwoman Tiffany Garriga, October 25th, 2018. Thank you for your commitment to enhancing equality and fairness and American justice.
Thank you, everyone. I am honored to have this award. I'm happy to accept this award. We have a lot of work to do. We are very proud and that we have a bill that has passed to be first in the nation. We have other states reaching out to us to send them that legislation. That shows how important this is to our entire country. We have exonerees tonight, and those are the ones that we fight for, and it's very important that this message goes along to the country. I'm not going to take up too much time, so just thank you.
Okay. The next 2 awards are going to go to the city of Yonkers, New York. And the city of Yonkers in Westchester County was extremely important because in the summer of 2016, we had the votes on the assembly floor, we had the votes on the assembly floor, on the assembly and the Senate floor, and there were certain delegations that went home sick, and literally they disappeared on the last day of the legislative session. We called it the DA flu. But Yonkers is pivotal. It's a very large city. It's one of the state's largest cities. And we really zeroed in on the Westchester delegation, the Assembly and the Senate delegation. They came through. They came through big time this past June. So, Councilmember Shanae V. And Shanae, on behalf of you, thank you for your commitment to enhancing equality and fairness in criminal justice.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Bill, for this honor. I'm so happy that I could have a necessary thing that needed to happen, and I'm very proud that we in Yonkers took this initiative and we saw it through, and that's what we need to continue to do. There's a lot more work left to be done, and I'm looking forward to continuing this journey. So thank you very much.
And Councilmember Corazon Pineda. Congratulations, Councilwoman. Now, these two councilwomen got passed a resolution by the Yonkers City Council telling the governor, the state legislature, the Senate, and most importantly, the Westchester County delegation and the state legislature, that they were going to be very insistent upon watching them to make sure they voted for the Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. So thank you to both of you, and I think you've probably got some brilliant careers ahead of you.
I'm honored to call the next person for the award presented to the City of Syracuse, Khalid Bey. To pass a resolution in support, and we pass it along to Syracuse to get that train going.
Good evening. I want to express my appreciation to you for this honor. Express my thanks to the council members in Hudson. We have made a habit of sharing legislation across borders, myself and a few others. In the city of Syracuse, Dr. County more specifically, where we have one of the highest, if not the highest, conviction rate usually because of forced pleas. This is a very important issue in Dr. County. As I sat over there, I was texting back and forth with another council member who's sitting in the courtroom right now, making sure that a person gets fair justice. It's a very important issue. Some people somehow believe that, unfortunately, police officers and prosecutors are without fallacy. We're all human, we make mistakes. So we have to keep this work going. I express my appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. You made an interesting reference to crossing borders. Somebody in the White House doesn't believe in working across borders, but and the final award goes to Councilmember Dorcey Applyrs, and which of course is a very important city. And I want to thank Steve Downs and the Albany County delegation for the work that they do. Dorcey, on behalf of to you, we'd like to present you with the 2018 Provost Servant of Justice Award, thanking you for your commitment to enhancing equality, fairness, and American justice. Thank you so much for your efforts. By the way, the resolution passed unanimously. Woo! And one of the council members who can't be here tonight is my friend Councilman Willie Lightfoot from the city of Rochester, and we're going to be doing a presentation to him at the Rochester City Council meeting. Councilman Lightfoot is a firefighter. He had to be on duty tonight. So, and that concludes the first round of awards. And now I hope everybody can follow the Mayor D's instructions and begin to embark on some. Why don't we begin with table 2? in the Rochester law office of her uncle, who was the Penfield town attorney at the time. Jennifer has quite the story that she can share with you during the social hour after dinner. But Jen provided a lot of creative thinking to the board, but most importantly, she was always there in Albany, walking the halls, sitting in the Senate lobby for many long hours, waiting to see if the Senate was going to vote on the bill. The commission established oversight on prosecutorial conduct. She got it, and she helped bring around a lot of folks in her district as well. So what I'm going to do is just present this to Jennifer, and let Jennifer announce the other certificates of appreciation to our board members, our advisory board members, and most importantly, the exonerees. What makes the Issue Coalition so unique is this broad band of individuals that includes community leaders, defense lawyers, from the private and public sector, exonerees, wrongfully prosecuted, business people, Rotary members, all of whom helped build this train as we became the little train that could, and worked our way over the hill, because nobody said that. Everybody kept telling us the DAs are never going to let this happen, but it did happen. Again, congratulations. Thank you so much for your hard work. And carry on.
Good evening. So I am very honored to be able to recognize our board members and advisory board members. So we're going to start with H. Rosh Jr. Thank you so much.
Make sure you get the part. Thank you. Thank you. You got it. Thank you.
And now, okay. So, exoneree Jabbar Collins. Therese Corrigan who's already up here, also whose mother has been instrumental as well, so we don't want to overlook her. Thank you. So we'd like to take one moment. Oh, maybe not. Oh, just going to run a corner. We'll get him when he comes back. So we're going to call, can we call him? No. We want to take a moment to recognize Assemblyman Perry.
We had invited Assemblyman Perry and Senator John DeFrancisco, and just let me say that Assemblyman Nick Perry, it was actually 6 years ago, we made a presentation on discovery reform, the Black, Hispanic, Asian, and Puerto Rican caucus. And when Assemblyman Perry's councils was in the room, and Steve Downs and I were there and mentioned the commission kind of as an aside, an oversight commission. We had an outline, and she jumped up and she said, I think Assemblyman Perry would really like to get involved with us. And we met with Assemblyman Perry the following week, and he quickly worked with Senator DeFrancisco's office. We drafted a bill based on the Commission on Judicial Conduct, which I'll just touch on briefly later for a few minutes. But Assemblyman Perry was there for the fight. Okay?
Yes, he was.
This bill came to the floor 3 times. It was on the floor. It was on the calendar. But suddenly it would disappear. That's why I made reference to the DA flu, because all of a sudden members of the Queen's delegation would go home. Only one member of the Queen's delegation took his name off the bill at the last minute after the phone call. So, but the Assemblyman stuck in there and built more and more support for this bill every year. The first year, we had 18 sponsors. The second year, we had 30 sponsors. Third year, we had 40 sponsors. This year, we had 80 sponsors in the Assembly. And that was due a large part of the Assembly as hard work. And Senator DeFrancisco. He could not be here tonight, but we couldn't have had a better conservative, liberal, upstate, downstate, Republican, Democrat, bipartisan coalition pushing for this bill. And I've got to tell you, I'm sure the Assemblyman would agree with me, without Senator DeFrancisco, this bill would be no place. So, thank you for stopping in to say hi to your comrades.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening. Good evening. Those of you who don't live in Brooklyn, welcome to Brooklyn. I've lived all my life in the United States, in Brooklyn. And I'm humbled, honored, privileged, and so pleased to have been a part of this campaign, this mission that we accomplished. I want to thank all the advocates, those who spent time helping with the drafting and the redrafting and the negotiations and the patience, wow, and the waiting and sharing the disappointment each time we thought we had it and just didn't make it. And I recall I looked at Bill one year when we almost got it. And I felt so bad because I think Bill was about to tell me, forget it, Nick, I'm done with you. Because his expectations had been raised so high, and we all thought this is when we were going to do it, only to get disappointed at the very last minute. And I had to call on all my knowledge of the institution, system, give them the assurance that this wasn't the end of it, and that this is just the way it goes in this part of government, and we just have to have the stick-to-itiveness to hang in there. We were going to get it done. And he's right. Without a good, solid, reliable, persistent partner in the other house, Senator DeFrancisco, we would not have gotten to the point where we actually got this law passed, signed. Now we have a little fight left because we have to deal with the courts. And it's amazing to me that the leader of the fight against the bill is an African-American man who, against the odds, ended up achieving the high office of district attorney in the county of Albany. I know that maybe in his mind he feels good about himself and that he's doing the right thing, but God above knows it's wrong
Amen.
to try to deny people the right to their day in court before a system that they can count on, where the opportunities for misconduct are not so welcome, because there will be consequences henceforth. The main contributor to the acts of misconduct in our courts, one of the main contributors, the fact that you can get away with it. There's no accountability. No personal penalty, and according as the record has shown, nobody with the authority and the power to impose a penalty and bring accountability has shown the willingness to act as the law requires and bring the perpetrators to punishment. So we have to get a law. And it fixes something in our system of democracy that I always refer to as a perk in our system, because every powerful office in our democracy has a system of check and balance. Whether it's applied or not, it's there for us to use. Now we will have it. So we need your support. We need you to continue to fight with us, to keep writing your letters, write to people who run for DAs in your counties, and let them know that they need to support this bill. We think the District Attorney's Association should withdraw their case. We're going to make sure they have no solid feet to stand on. And Bill and I and all my colleagues who supported this bill, I want to thank the governor. I think he was under a lot of pressure and he did the right thing. And if anybody needs one reason to vote for Governor Cuomo this year, that's a good reason. I can jump over any hoop to cast my vote for him because he signed this bill into law. And forgive him for anything else he did that I didn't like, or any other bill he pushed through that might not have been good for us. This bill is good, and generations to come are going to be appreciative of the work that we did. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to continuing to push on to reform criminal justice and our courts to make sure that our system of justice is fair and everyone has a chance equal to each one. Thank you.
bill got passed. It took some time, but all of our strong personalities together, we did a lot of work and we got this bill passed. And I'm so honored. Thank you.
So one of the things that I don't think we mentioned is that this bill passed in 5 years. There are people who are trying to get bills passed. They've been trying for 10, 20, 30 years to get their bills passed. And we got this bill through in 5 years. What we did, we really did something miraculous to make this happen. So I want to call Lorenzo Johnson.
This is unbelievable. I didn't expect anything like this. Thank you, Itchy. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, exonerees. I love all of you. Thank you.
Tears of joy.
Before we move on, there are, excuse me, folks. Is Vocal New York here?
Yes.
Okay. Where's Nick? Okay, Nick. Vocal New York is a very strong grassroots organization in New York City. It's really worked very, very closely for us. And once the bill passed the Senate and the Assembly, we did a very strong letter writing campaign with the governor. And Vocal was very, very instrumental, along with Just Leadership USA and the Innocence Project, in rounding up a whole host of strong, influential organizations in New York City and throughout the state. So Just Leadership is here. If they can stand up too. Vocal. Innocence Project. By the way, guys, we had certificates, but the printer that Jeff was supposed to buy had bought, so we had to go upstairs and use Nancy's today. But thank you guys so much for being a part of this coalition. We're now going to move on, hopefully rather rapidly, to the second round of awards. The first of all, the Private Sector Servant of Justice Award, and from there to the Ken Thompson Second Annual Minister of Justice Award. So I'd like to call up my good friend, neighbor, housekeeper, hotel operator, Steve Downs. He was the first past counsel of the Commission on Judicial Conduct, was really able to relay to the senators and the assemblymen some of the fallacies that the District Attorneys Association were trying to argue about. And bringing that depth of experience and expertise, and week after week after week, Steve was up there with us. But just as important, Steve provided housing for this little guy outside of Albany. I can't tell you how many hundreds, or probably thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in housing expenses Steve saved not only making his place available to me, but other board members as well. They've come down to advocate for the commission bill. That's what makes this a truly grassroots organization. So my good friend Steve, on behalf of the cabinet, I'd like to present you the 2018 Private Sector Justice Award. It's past attorney for the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct, legal scholar for the establishment of the New York State Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. Thank you for your commitment to enhancing the quality of service. Now, briefly, Steve.
I was a Royal Spirit Carrier for the Basque Army, and I went up there and did battle for 5 years with all the people that have given certificates, and in that time we became a family. And so this award is very sweet to me because I admire and respect the people that came up so much. So I really appreciate it. Thank you all. One other important thing to do here, unfortunately, I get this out. When the awards were announced, the spear carriers that were up there began to grumble, and they said, "We are foot soldiers that were sent into battle, and we're getting recognized, and we appreciate it. But where's the recognition for the generals that got us there?" And so we realized that we have to give an award to the people that really organized this. And so I want to do it right now. This is a kind of a People's Choice Award. It's completely unauthorized, but that's what we do. It happened to you. So I want Bill and Terry to come up here. Gratitude to Bill and Terry Bassett for their outstanding leadership that brought the New York State Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct into existence and galvanized reform of New York State's criminal laws. Their service to the cause of justice has been remarkable. Because this is unauthorized, I just think we should authorize it by a vote of the people here today. So how many people think that they deserve an award?
You know, I know I knew this was coming and I didn't expect it. I just want to say one thing about my wife, okay? What she went through between May of 2008 and May of 2009, the time that it led up to my trial, I was finally exonerated. I just could not ask for a stronger woman. And my attorney, John Speranza, once told me about halfway through, as we were on our way to trial, and we were conferring, and he said, you know, there's a lot of clients I know, their wives are throwing you out the window. But not only did she not throw me out the window, but she came up with a name that could happen to you. So, and that's the marketing genius of my wife. That being said, I would like to call on just a couple of close friends of Steve's, or give us a couple of very brief words. Actually not a friend, but Roger Downs has agreed. Roger Downs is Steve's son. To say a couple of words. Roger and I actually ran into each other quite a bit in the halls because Roger is the chief lobbyist for the Sierra Club. So come on, Roger, just come on up.
I think there's been a change in plan, but I will say that I don't think you all know how much you've certainly touched my dad's life and our family's life. As you may know, he spent 28 years with the State Commission on Judicial Conduct and invested enormous amounts of time into reforming the judicial system. And I think the things that really stuck in his craw were when it was systemic dysfunction. When it wasn't just the judges, it was the prosecutors, it was the police that were bringing people off the streets for minor crimes, the prosecutors that would take them on, and the judges that would set exorbitantly high bail and have people rot in jail until they pled guilty. And I think that New York State has made incredible strides in the past 40 years in the judicial system. But I think having this piece, after he retired, knowing that, who goes after the prosecutors, who holds them accountable. And, I'm a lobbyist in Albany, watching this bill sort of get near the, completion for the past 5 years. Just this year in particular, how dysfunctional everything was. What a miracle it was to get this bill done. And we can all talk about the perfect storm of various factors, but I think, what my father certainly will acknowledge more than anything else, it's not about lobbyists, it's not about really knowing, the right people, it's about the people with heart, and the exonerees, the wrongfully accused, those that really came to Albany and relived their pain in every lobby visit and laid it out for the legislature. That's what's made the difference, and it's made a real difference in his life. Anyway, I want to congratulate you all and thank you all for honoring my dad, but this is something incredible to celebrate. Thank you.
And he also has a very dear friend in Kathy Manley, who's just going to say a few very quick words.
Very quick words. Yeah, I thought we were going to do it earlier. All right, yeah, so Steve is a guy who has a lot of ideas. I've known him since about 2006, and he has lots of ideas. Some of them are good ideas. Like in 2003, some of them are just well-timed ideas. Like in 2003, when he was still the chief attorney at the Commission for Judicial Conduct, and he decided that it would be a good idea when the war on Iraq was starting to go to a mall in Albany and have a t-shirt printed at the mall that said something really controversial like peace on earth, and then promptly get arrested. And he became an international media star and was on the Bill O'Reilly show, and his friends in New Zealand heard about it, and the local NPR station was using him for fundraising. So that was just one idea. And then in 2006, which is when I met him, we became involved in a case of a wrongfully prosecuted Muslim man in Albany who was trapped in an unfair FBI sting operation, and we started studying other cases, and he came up with this whole analysis of how the government was using preemptive prosecution against Muslims post 9/11, and we formed a national coalition there. And then he had the idea of having conferences of the family members of those people. So we just came back from one of those last weekend in DC, and that coalition has grown greatly. That was another idea of Steve's. And then about 2010 or so, or 2009, anyway, somewhere in there, he met Bill, and he started, thinking about it could happen to you. And he heard about the discovery reform, and that's good. And then he had this idea, because of his work with the Commission on Judicial Conduct, he thought, maybe we could take that same model and make a Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. So that was his idea, basically. And he started drafting the legislation. And you know the rest, and it was, not just him, but the efforts of Bill and everybody else in this room that made it happen, and I'm so happy that it happened. Thank you.
Next, we're going to honor somebody else who's become like a brother to me, and back in 2009, I got a phone call from Jonathan Goodess, who ran the New York State Defenders Association up until a year ago. I sat down with Jonathan, Yeah, you don't know Jonathan well, God bless you, but it was supposed to be a 15, 20-minute conversation, and Jonathan and I talked for 2 hours. And he mentioned this guy, Jeff Deskovich, who was a veterinary, who started up this foundation called the Jeff Deskovich Foundation for Justice, and he said, you two guys should hook up. And we hooked up, and I'll tell you, Jeff has been a constant, especially with the exonerees. He's really kept the exonerees on their toes. He's helped bring Albany time and time after, week and week, month after month, when they were all getting tired and frustrated too. Anthony and the others, and so on, who just joined us this year. Days, he was exonerated in December, last December, after he was retried 5 times. So when, I just got to say this quickly, the 3rd time Selwyn was retried, he was able to prove that he was in North Carolina at the time of this alleged double murder. So what do you think the prosecutors and the police did? They changed the date and the time of the murder. So, not unheard of. But, and Jeffrey's become a real pal. We've had the opportunity to joke around and have a lot of fun together. We're going to be traveling together. There's a lot of states that are calling us at the Innocence Project to start a commission with Jeff as well. He's provided his home in the Bronx as a resting ground for me and others. Well, we have to come to New York City and work the boroughs and work the senators and work the assemblymen. So Jeff, my dear friend and brother, I'm not going to call you up here yet because Bennett Gershman is actually going to present the award to you.
First, I'd like to congratulate Judge Cobb, Steve Downs, Councilwoman Garriga, and all the other wonderful recipients of awards this evening. This is a special moment for me, one because this is a very special occasion. We just won a huge battle in the war for justice. It's your victory. Enjoy the satisfaction of creating something historic, something that's never been done before, something that at one time seemed inconceivable. A little over a year ago, Bill Bastick, myself, and Jeffrey Deskovich were invited to Peekskill, to Peekskill High School by the NAACP to participate in a panel discussion on prosecutorial misconduct, wrongful convictions, and this new far-out legislation to establish a commission to regulate prosecutors. Very few people believe that this was possible. Bill did, Steve Downs did, and Tom Hoffman did, but very few people thought that this was something that could really happen. Anyway, as we gathered in the cafeteria at Peekskill High School, I chatted with some of the NAACP officials, some of the Peekskill officials, some of the teachers at Peekskill High School. And then walked down the long hallway to the large auditorium, passing a bunch of classrooms on the way. I wondered what Jeffrey Deskovich must be thinking, feeling, remembering. Because almost 30 years ago, this 17-year-old teenager who attended Peekskill High School, who ate in the same cafeteria, walked down the same hallway, studied in the same classroom, was ripped from his environment, handcuffed, thrown into a cell, interrogated by the Peekskill police for 7 hours, until finally, crying uncontrollably on the floor in a fetal position, confessed to raping, killing a 15-year-old classmate, Angela Correa. Jeff was tried and convicted based entirely on his confession. Maybe you're innocent, the trial judge declared before sentencing Jeff to life in prison, but the jury has spoken. And for sure, the jury and the community has spoken. Jeff was reviled, hated, an outcast. He spent 16 years, half his life, in a small cell in Elmira State Prison. Let's call it what it is, a cage. In a cruel and unforgiving facility, which the Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor recently remarked, denies your existence, denies your humanity, and implies that you are not a citizen of a democracy, but the subject of a carceral state, just waiting to be cataloged. Now, 30 years later, having been exonerated, and back in the same high school, Jeff was lauded as a young man of valor, a champion of justice, possibly by some of the same people who earlier had demanded his blood. Jeff, I'm sure we all know, has become one of the most outspoken activists and lobbyists for reforming our criminal justice system, which we know is anything but. He lectures to police and correction officials. He lobbies all the time for reform. He's written hundreds and hundreds of articles and has educated the public and the profession and actually improved the conduct of judges and prosecutors and police. I could add something about that despicable Westchester County former district attorney, Janine Pirro, who refused to test Jeff's DNA that would have proved his innocence. Her refusal caused Jeff to spend 6 more years in prison. But I prefer to laud the courageous actions of Westchester District Attorney Janet E. Fiore, Pirro's successor, now the Chief Judge of New York's Court of Appeals, who engaged in extraordinary action on her part. She commissioned a report by 2 distinguished judges and a prosecutor who I happen to recommend, my great late friend, the District Attorney of Staten Island, Bill Murphy. And this report on the wrongful conviction of Jeffrey Deskovic details the tragic pileup of mistakes and carelessness, incompetence, and misconduct that robbed Jeffrey of half his life. With compensation for those lost years, Jeff, as we know, has established this wonderful foundation, the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation, to prevent wrongful convictions in the future. His foundation has already exonerated 2 people. And William Holly, and there are 10 additional cases in the pipeline ready to be worked on for more exonerations. Jeff has received so many awards, as we say, too numerous to mention. Jeff's dream, which he said when he was very young, dream of becoming a lawyer. With a law degree, he said, I can directly exonerate the innocent. Well, Jeff's dream will soon become a reality.
That's right.
law school we made,
Turn to setback.
take the bar exam,
Come back.
and pass it, I guarantee it,
Come to the wall.
because he's been my remarkable student and I've been his teacher. And my friend. So an incredible young man, a true servant of justice. I'm very proud to have been part of your life. Thank you. Exoneree, advocate for justice reform, founder of Jeffrey Deskin Foundation for Justice, October 25th, 2018. Yeah.
Excellent moment. If you to the wall, you came back in the back. Yeah.
I do believe that my role in the world is to fight wrongful conviction. From raising awareness to policy changes to freeing the wrongfully convicted. That's how I make sense of the 16 years that I spent in prison. While I always try to enjoy the moment, and I think that that's really important to do, you know, and I thank God for my freedom. Yet also, I've tried to first remember the people that I metaphorically left behind. That's the first thought in my head before I think about enjoying the moment with the people who are sharing those with me. So I will go really quickly, and share a few slides to supplement. I remember J.J. Velasquez is still fighting for exoneration now, with several witnesses recanting the actual perpetrator who identified the initial reports of the police having confessed to several civilian witnesses who remains in prison wrongfully. His mother, Maria Velasquez, has some health issues, so she would be with us tonight, and she asked me to just convey that she would have been here. I remember John Juga, whose wrongful conviction was recently overturned after 14 years on prosecutorial misconduct grounds, but nonetheless remains incarcerated because the judge refuses to grant him bail. Why? Because the last time he went to a jury, he was convicted. Well, the jury had been infected by the misconduct and withheld information. I remember Andrew Prevac, who's a foundation client, Anthony DePippo's co-defendant. Imagine being wrongfully imprisoned on the same set of facts that your co-defendant, who's listed in the National Register of Exoneration, is walking around free for 2 years, but you're in prison still. And by the way, the same person who coerced the false confession at Andrew Prevac is the same villain in my case, Putnam County Sheriff's investigator Daniel Stevens. I remember Michael DeLoe from Pennsylvania, who, suffice to say, remains wrongfully imprisoned despite a DNA test showing that semen found on the underwear of the victim did not come from him. His mother, Marian Lubis, is here with us tonight. Remember Adam Brazil, who was wrongfully imprisoned, whose conviction was overturned, but who nonetheless was sent back to prison, but who continues to fight for his freedom today. His sister Christine, his advocate, is with us here tonight also. Last one, Anna John Alexander, who we're going to embark on an international tour. But imagine being charged for a second, right? Dallas, Texas, with 3 counts, and all of them being dismissed upon your demand for trial. Imagine being charged with 1 count in Houston, Texas, where although that was dismissed
upon demand for trial. Imagine being hit with 49 counts in New York, and 39 of them were dismissed upon demand for trial. Imagine all the other ones being dismissed also, but upon condition that in order to get exculpatory evidence that you need for your habeas petition in California, the prosecutors made him take a deal for one count to get the exculpatory information. You say, does that ring a bell to anyone? Is there something wrong here? So he continues to fight the case in California. He was originally hit with 59 counts. 35 of them were dismissed before trial. He was acquitted of some charges. The jury deadlocked on others, but convicted him on 15 counts. So he's seeking justice now with a lot of great evidence that was obtained in part through that terrible deal. There's a commutation petition pending in front of Governor Brown. So hopefully we're going to round up some more high-profile letters in support of that. The Foundation's letter is certainly there. You know, lots of red flags. I'm not going to go over them because I'm being short, but just take a photo if you like. Lots of commonalities of prosecutorial misconduct and inadequate lawyering went into that wrongful conviction case. So having said that, and by the way, Mother Sashi is here with us from India, okay, determined to send us So I just want to bring home what we're talking about. It's one thing to say, you know, I was arrested at 16, I lost a trial when I was 17, I was in prison 17 to 32. It's one thing to say it, okay, but I wasn't the adult that you see now. I wanted to show you real fast, super quickly. This is my mugshot, obviously. This is what I looked like in the courtroom when it was announced that the jury had made a verdict, but it hadn't as yet been read. This is me when I was given a 15 to life sentence, not having been charged as an adult. This is me early on in Elmira Correctional Facility, a men's maximum security prison. This is what we're talking about. And you see before, right? And you can see after, this is when I was exonerated. This is opening the foundation. William Lopez, our comrade, our friend, who passed away after 23 and a half years imprisonment. He was free for a year and a half only. This is the press conference at my foundation office when we were looking at Manhattan. Our second exoneration, William Hawley, which you saw Rita DeVay accept the award on behalf of Jabbar Collins. So this is an exoneration that she achieved while a staff attorney with the foundation. Okay, this is when I got the master's degree. This is after one of the presentations on best practices and ethics with the police officers. And this is at Pace Law School. So I am so happy that Judge Block got the award that he's going to be getting right after me for his great work when it comes to prosecutorial misconduct and wrongful conviction. But we should not be fooled because of that award for this one exemplary judge as to not recognize that there's a problem in general with the judiciary. The average length of wrongful imprisonment is 14 years. Often by the time people are exonerated, their appeals have long since been denied. If you were to read the summaries of those cases, you would see plenty of red flags along the way. Yet, the convictions were not reversed despite obvious grounds for doing so. We need to somehow dialogue and reach the judges on a national level, that the finality of the conviction, right? In other words, today, the idea that we can't keep going through this. When is enough enough? You had your day in court, you lost, right? That is one concept, right? Finality of conviction that gets in the way of accuracy. I think that whenever there's an objective reason to review a conviction, that it should be reviewed. I think that we're so far away when it comes to the exaltation of proceduralism over substantive justice. The bedrock principle of the justice system is supposed to be that the guilty are punished while the innocent go free. Yet, procedure has come to mean more. I lost in federal court because my lawyer filed the petition 4 days too late. 4 days too late, and that was considered to be more important than my innocence argument. Forget about why I was late, which had to do with misinformation by the court clerk. So we need to somehow reach out. I showed you the pictures on my journey. I want to say that the foundation and myself, we salute. We salute if it happened to you. We're so humble and we're so happy to be part of this coalition that helped to pass this historic legislation. And the last point I'm going to make, First, second, last. I'll be really quick. You know, we do have a reentry game, Recharge Beyond the Bars reentry game. It facilitates reintegration of formerly incarcerated people. Lots of icebreakers there. So this is what the game looks like. This is the website. A quote from me: "The formerly incarcerated and all who play this game will bond, laugh, and heal." And I do believe that. Leslie Robinson is in the back. She has the game. Leslie, want to stand for just a quick super second and wave. As a part of the game, she made the game and followed the game, but I use it. And so lastly, I might have gotten the award, but really, from amongst my comrades, from the falsely accused and exonerated, the award really is shared with you. From when I call you, when I text you, from doing a speaking engagement, to participating in a press conference, to trading your privacy in exchange for awareness by doing a media interview, to walking the wall, to doing a sign-on letter. When I called you, you answered the call in the fight against wrongful conviction. Kudos to all of those people, and their pictures are here, from the falsely accused but acquitted H. Posh Jr., going over the photos, to William Lopez, to Divine Whitfield, to Lorenzo Johnson, to Keon Katibi, to Anthony DePippo, to Selwyn Days, who's with us. Anthony, you know he's here. Selwyn's in the back. To exonerees who couldn't make it tonight, but were very much part of our effort. From Derek Hamilton, 20 years, Everton Wagstaff, David McCallum, Kareem Bellamy, Raymond Santana, Board Member Jennifer Wilcoff, fighting for exoneration Frank Vetro, exonerated Jabbar Collins, who came late but came nonetheless. Thank you for coming. To Johnny Capiet. All of us responded to the call from Bill, from myself, to the higher calling, to the sacrifice, to the long trips to Albany, to giving up personal things, all in the name of not one more person to be wrongfully imprisoned. And to that, everybody, that name I just called, kudos. Kudos to all of you. Thank you so much. As we take this battle to get discovery reform in New York, to spreading the commission, our Pennsylvania contingency, we're going to spread it in Pennsylvania, many other states, and one of the key people, I think, in Pennsylvania that we're going to be working with, the first man to ever use DNA testing in order to exonerate, for exoneration in Pennsylvania, is with us tonight. Vincent Moto, 11 years on a rape case, is not committed. Thank you very much, Bill Bassett, and anyone to you. Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.
So, we have one more award to present tonight. And
Hey, Jeff, let me get a picture of you.
this is the second year we've presented this award. And actually, it was an award that Jeff Bennett Kirschman, myself, the organization, just being viewed as an organization that beats up on prosecutors, because that's not what we're about. There's very, very good prosecutors out there doing their jobs very, very well. But, and in recognition of that, we thought it was about time to start to recognize progressive prosecutors, as we come to call them. And we felt it was most appropriate to represent to present an award to Ken Thompson. And as we were in the process of developing the criteria for this award, unfortunately Ken Thompson passed away of cancer. For those of you who don't know, Ken set up one of the state's first wrongful conviction unit in Kings County in Brooklyn. I don't know Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, they're on number 22 now, or something like this, in terms of wrongful convictions, just in one DA's office. And that was due very much to the progressive and the very just thinking of Ken Thompson. So last year, we presented the first Ken Thompson Servant of Justice Award to Ken Thompson's wife, widow, posthumously. She could not be here with us tonight. She's very, very ill. She fell and she tripped. But she expresses her appreciation to everybody who's come out for this dinner. She's been very, very supportive of It Could Happen to You. That is Lushawn Thompson. I know there are some friends of hers in the audience. There are folks who know Lushawn very, very well. So, and Lushawn, Judge Block, Lushawn is not happy that she couldn't be here tonight, but she said she'll make it up to you. As we were moving to get the governor to sign the commission bill and the Senate and the Assembly to pass the bill and waging a media campaign, we were working with the Innocence Project and Marvin Schechter, the New York State Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. And I can't tell you how much the New York State Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers really, year after year, began to put in more and more time on this bill. Because at first, I think they thought that it was a pipe dream. But one of the folks who really was very instrumental in presenting some rational legal arguments in some very horrific cases to the legislature was Marvin Schechter from the New York State Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. And Marvin was very instrumental not only persuading legislators, but also making sure that that internal body was united behind this commission bill in the closing days. And folks at the Innocence Project and Marvin said, you know, the guy we need to get to write the letter, there's one person we need to stand up and to write the letter. There's this guy, Judge Block, who I never heard of. And so we're going to get a letter from Judge Block. Don't tell anybody. It's going to be a big secret. And once Judge Block's letter hits, there's going to be a lot of surprised faces out there. So, after the bill was moved out of Assembly rules, a letter appeared in the New York Daily News from one Judge Frederick Block. And this letter talked about the case of Jabbar Collins, which I'm sure the judge will make reference to when he talks briefly about a very tragic case, a very high-profile case. And he talked about the fact that the prosecutors need to begin to keep their house in order. They can't keep their house in order by doing it themselves. And it became very apparent to me that this is a judge who's a game changer. And as I learned more and more about Judge Block, I heard all these stories about him, even tonight from some of his classmates. So I am just very honored to have met the judge. And, you know, he was so honored to getting this award. He was calling me week after week. I would get a Friday afternoon call from Judge Block in the middle of June through September. Bill, how many people you got signed up? Is it okay if I bring some more people? He had his court folks calling me, stay on top of this. I'm like, Steve Downs and I were talking, you know, I can't believe the federal court judge is really doing this. So I'm going to ask two people to participate in presenting this award to Judge Block tonight. One is Marvin Schechter. And Marvin's got a cute story. Marvin, keep it to the cute story. Okay, please, you know, not a dissertation. Okay. And then we're going to have a surprise, just a few remarks from one of the judge's classmates that I happen to know for many, many years. Nick Rockvogel, who actually we go back quite some time. Nick was former chairman of the Monroe County Democratic Party, and while I was in the Monroe County legislature, and Nick's going to come up, but I just want to say how what a pleasure it was to run into Nick again tonight, because when you're party chairman, you have a lot of evening out. and Nick did a lot of evening out, and in a very gentle way. You know, there are party bosses, and then there are party bosses. And so I asked Nick tonight, I said, you know, you two guys went to Cornell together. I just learned that tonight. So I'm sure Nick will have a little bit of shit to bring to us. So Marvin, to you and the New York State Attorney.
Thank you very much. Certainly, my congratulations to recipients of all the awards tonight, and Bill, to you for the very kind words about the State Association's small role in this incredible victory for justice in our state. Lawyers, by nature, have a very delicate and fraught relationship with judges. We appear before them in an adversarial system. We work hard in front of some. We win some of our arguments, and in those days, we love the judge. There are other days where we lose our arguments, and that's the worst judge I've ever been in front of. The real value of a judge is not found in the history of their decisions, but rather, lawyers will tell you, it is found in the small corners of their lives. So I want to share with you two quick stories about Judge Block, which I think illustrate what kind of human being he was and why he was destined to be a spectacular judge and the recipient of this award. On Judge Block's first day on the federal bench in the Eastern District of New York, the second lawyer to appear in front of him was me. That's a long time ago. And I appeared on behalf of a client to whom I was assigned, who was Hispanic and did not understand any English, and under the rules of the court was assigned an interpreter to stand next to him so that he would understand the proceedings, which, by the way, is taken for granted in this nation, but if you travel to other parts of the world, the use of an interpreter is hardly guaranteed, let alone used. The proceedings started, the case was on for the first time, and the prosecutor was asked by the court to see the indictment. The indictment was handed to me, the indictment was handed to the court, it was in English. There was a pause in the proceedings while the judge reviewed the document, and then the judge looked up and said to the prosecutor, "Where is the Spanish version of this indictment?" That was unheard of. No judge had ever asked that. No judge I appeared in front of, then or since, had ever asked that question. The judge was startled to find out that there was no Spanish version of the indictment. The judge, in his mind, thought this was a basic, fundamental due process right that an accused had before his court. And several minutes passed with the prosecutor sputtering all kinds of explanations why they did not have this indictment and promising to get one in Spanish. And the judge said to me, "Do you have anything to say about that?" And I said, "You're absolutely right, Judge. They should have had this before you all the time." Nothing like pouring oil on the fire to keep it going. So I thought then, this is a compassionate person who's going to be fine on the bench. This is a person who cares about the people in front of him, including the accused. The second thing that I want to tell you about the judge, which most people in this room, except maybe for a few attorneys who I don't think are as old as me, is the following. New York State is unique amongst the many states in providing a remedy for individuals who are accused of crimes, who actually commit those crimes, but for various extenuating circumstances, the charges need to be dismissed. This dismissal is called a dismissal in the interests of justice. It is unique because the criteria for such a dismissal include, among other things, how will the community feel about a dismissal? Does such a dismissal foster disrespect or respect for the law, among other similar criteria? It is a motion that is not granted often, but has been granted enough and has resulted in dismissals and justice for people who may have unwittingly committed a crime, but did so in a manner which all of us in this room would accept as not being worthy of a conviction. This particular motion, which attorneys made, is called a Clayton motion. It comes from a famous case that was argued all the way to the highest court in the state of New York, People v. Clayton. The defense attorney who argued and won that case was Judge Frederick Block. That is his lasting legacy to the criminal justice system of New York State and to our entire justice system. So for that and that alone, I'm grateful to be here tonight to say these few words about him.
I won't tell you any specific stories about Fred Block, but it's been my privilege and honor to know him for too many years. It goes back to a time when Dwight Eisenhower was president of the United States, when we were classmates at the Cornell Law School. And over the years I've thought about it, but one of the highlights of having been at the Cornell Law School was to earn Fred Block's friendship and to know him for so many years and to play a role in his life and in his career. I say that out of pride because Fred is a multifaceted person. Even back in law school, his thoughts were not only about the law, but he was also an author, he was a composer, he was somebody interested in the arts, and he was quite accomplished. And over the years, we stayed in touch. We were both active in the New York State Bar Association. And I was so pleased back in the 1990s when he called me and said that he was being considered for a judge and suffered the slings and arrows of being involved in politics, which even back in the 60s when I started, we were still respected if you were active in civic affairs, unlike what's developing today. And we have to do something about that. And people like Fred Block do something about that. Fred Block has had a wonderful career on the bench, and what little role I played in helping him to achieve that, I'm so proud of him. He has been a wonderful judge. He's blended respect for the rule of law with compassion for those who appear in front of him. And if you want to get a very clear picture of his ability, read his book, not only This Road, but The Race to Judgment. And it's very fitting that he should receive the Ken Thompson Award because he really memorialized that late district attorney's career in his first novel. So I'm pleased and proud to be with you tonight and to share this podium with so many distinguished people in honor of my good friend and classmate, Fred Block.
Day. And thank you for reminding me of that. We have every plea agreement is translated into Spanish. I think we're very sensitive to that to this day. And it's just wonderful to be reminded of that. And Nick, I mean, I always judge you in many respects. So I'm really grateful for you. Look, I made it very clear, wonderful friends of mine, lawyers, great journalists in this room here who came. I said, I'm not really interested in being honored. I'm not the big money type of guy. I want you to come to honor what happened here. This is worthy of your support. This is why I support it. And I am here not as an honoree in my mind, but to honor you folks. This extraordinary effort that you put forward, which tells you once again that a handful of people can make a major difference if you really are committed to a cause and you're not a quitter. So, everybody here, asked by me whether this is a worthy cause to support. They're here responsibly to that plea, and I'm just glad that you're here to join with me tonight in honoring this extraordinary group of people. Let me just make a few comments because the time is late. It's very difficult. You people have stayed a long time. I'm sensitive to that. So let me see whether I can really be a good Brooklyn judge and talk fast and get a few points across at the same time. I'm a great believer that you have a responsibility, if you have any talent or ability or sensitivity while we're in this crazy world of ours, borrowing some time for a few years, to try to speak out, not be fearful, be willing to take the risks of being rejected if you feel passionate and strong about something that is near to your heart. And I look upon me and my colleagues, they're all very capable people, but they're not a lot of risk takers. They play it safe. You can understand why. They do not want to be chastised. They don't want to be called Judge Blockhead in the newspaper. They don't want to be called a lunatic judge. Nobody wants to run that risk. But I look upon what I've done and what I see people who I admire so much have done is that we know that if you take a stone and toss it in the middle of a pond, you're going to get ripples. You don't know how many ripples. You don't know what's going to happen, how deep they're going to be, what the results will be. But you know for sure, if you don't drop that stone in the water, nothing's going to happen. Sad to say, many of my colleagues, I respect them all, are not stone throwers, and they're not going to make any ripples. I feel that the reason of being blessed with this position, I will hear about, it's a long, long story, I'm glad it happened, is that there's so much responsibility by reason of the information you acquire over the years, your life experiences, to be a stone thrower, and to possibly, it may make a difference, make a ripple effect. So I just encourage anybody, I preach to my law clerks, be a stone thrower. Because for sure, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to add to the quality of your life, and you'll feel very good about yourself. So you folks, I'm surrounded by stone throwers here, and it's great to be in the company of all you people. So there's a story here as to why I'm here, and if you just bear with me for a few minutes, I think that the best way you can make points is by sharing a story. Who would think 20 years ago, Marvin, that I would wind up, having a stone to throw because they just got assigned a lawsuit, it could have been any judge, and it was the Collins case. This is the stone, the first stone. Jamal Collins had been exonerated by my colleague, Chief Judge Irizarry, in a very courageous decision. She did a wonderful job. And she was the one that spoke out what was rotten in the state of Brooklyn here. What a disgrace, what has evolved since then. It's embarrassment. So as a judge in Brooklyn, looking at the criminal justice system that I had to experience here and watching what was happening here was just distressing to me. So anyway, applaudis to Judge Irizarry for opening the door to allowing Jamal Collins to be with me tonight. Jamal, I want you to come up here and you can help me. One little favor. I'm going to make sure that 2 weeks worth of pictures are not going to fall out. Sure. And if I do, I'm going to come and you to pick me up. All right. So here's the Jamal Collins story. Here's why we're here tonight. So here the case was filed by Jamal after he was exonerated.
seeking to civil remedies against the DA of Brooklyn and the prosecutor and the city of New York. And we had a motion to dismiss the case under the law because in the United States, it happened many years ago, the Supreme Court did it many years ago. It was a thing to do, I guess, at that time. Prosecutors were given absolute immunity. So regardless of their misdeeds, as long as they were acting in the prosecutorial capacity, they could not be held accountable under the law. Who else? Judges are accountable. Presidents of the United States are accountable. Prosecutors are not accountable under the law for their misdeeds, regardless of how egregious their behavior is. So I looked at this complaint. Judge Rosari just developed a record, which I was able to avail myself of. The bar was blessed with a very good lawyer, Joel Bruton, and to read his story, the 16 years in jail, what happened to him, the egregious behavior of the prosecutors of the district attorney of Brooklyn, of all places, just not complying with their Brady operations, not telling people that witnesses had recanted. I mean, I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe I was sitting as the judge of Brooklyn reading this story. It was a nightmare. So anyway, what to do? So I'm bound by the law to adhere to the law, and I dismissed the case against the prosecutors. But there is a principle of law that we have called no liability, or under certain circumstances, if you have egregious behavior by public officials, the city can be held responsible for the misdeeds of these people, even though they cannot be held personally responsible themselves. So I did dismiss the case against the city. We wrote about that, and that opened the door, I guess, the floodgates, to giving Jabbar and lots of other people who have been wrongly convicted an opportunity to get some civil money, some remedy for the many years they've been in jail. And Jabbar was able to get enough money so that, he can buy me my new cane. And I'm very proud of him and how he evolved as a human being. This award, Jeffrey Deskovich gave both awards, as far as I'm concerned, this one and the one he got. Because he experienced what Jabbar experienced, and he's here to tell you all about it. And I think I stand as the first judge who would also share in that type of situation. I've never been in jail, so I really can't really come close to understand what it must be like every day to live that torture, to live the life that Mr. Deskovich lived the life that Jabbar Collins lived. Because of his genius, his brilliance, his persistence, he was able to basically, as we say, lawyer his way out of jail in the face of the very stringent habeas corpus laws we have, which I think are slowly being reformed finally, which, are these technical things that people have in the day in court, Jeffrey. And there we were. And since then, where's Garrett? Garrett's still here? A little later? Yes, sir. So he was on the commission, and the DA appointed Garrett, two other people. What is it, 23 now and going? 26. 26. So in a way, I think maybe this award should be shared with the Brooklyn DA's office. Because if they weren't so bad, we never probably have the opportunity to have this commission. Anyway, $400 million, I understand. Let me suspect people who've been exonerated. It's become a true scandal. So I wrote about it. I said, let me take up those stones, and I couldn't help but do it. And I wrote a little article for the Marshall Project. The New York Times hasn't picked up on this yet. They're out to lunch as far as I'm concerned in this issue for whatever reason. But I'm getting a call from Rebecca Brown. All right. And I read her. I'm looking forward to her. And she asked me whether I'd be willing to take the what I wrote in the Marshall Project and recast it and let them play around with it to see what we can get published in some newspaper, because they were really in the throes of getting this legislation through, and I didn't think it could amount to much. And I said, look, I'll be happy to do it. I feel strongly about this. I've written about it. I believe in turning stones, throwing them in the water a little bit. So I said, okay, fine. And I was in the process of making arrangements that it was right to be fixed. So my focus was really not so much on the article that was written. But lo and behold, that little bastard calls me up and he tells me that he would like me to come here tonight to receive this award. So look, what has really happened here is if you look at the ripples that happened as a result of the Jamal Collins case, then I took advantage of this poor young man and I made the central character of the book that I wrote based on judgment. I feel really guilty because I did bad thing to him in the book. He's the Joe Jones character, and the book really motivated me, and Jamal motivated me to write this book. And I used Ken Thompson as the Ken Williams protagonist in the book. And I traced the rise of this young African-American civil rights lawyer fighting to do cause and unseating the district attorney. And that doesn't happen too often, certainly not in New York, it's traditionally been there for life. But it actually happened. And Jamal is a major part of the story. I had fun with it. And I decided that the right thing to do would be to dedicate the book to Ken Thompson. So little did I know that he was dying. And then I read in the newspaper that he left the office, he was in the hospital, bullet the week ago, he was his partner. Now Ken tried his first and second case before him, he was the assistant U.S. attorney. So we go all the way back, and I was following his career, and he done we go way back in the old days in Suffolk County, and so I was really on top of it all. And I asked him, what's wrong? He says, Ken's dying. I said, oh my God. I had just finished writing the manuscript. It was in loose leaf form, and I decided I was going to dedicate the book to the memory of Ken Thompson. I spoke to Doug today to remind me of the story. 2 days before Ken passed away, he wrote the book. He said, Judge Rock is going to dedicate the book to your memory. And Doug told me that Ken just leaned back and he smiled and said, thank you, Judge. So what does this all really mean? To wrap it up, it's a long night. It's very hard to stay for a long time. It's a lot of speeches all over the zone. Is that, once again, what is the responsibility of somebody who's blessed with the opportunity to possibly throw a stone in the water? And I think that there is a responsibility that you have to do that. That's my own personal philosophy. And look, I'm standing next to Jamal Collins. We are tethered together for life. Between the person who fought his way out of jail and the judge who had to read his paper, and he made this decision, and look what happened. So I can't really believe that from this stone that was cast way back when, when I picked up that file, I read that complaint that Joe wrote for you, that we were standing here. So, I don't look upon this as an award, worthy of this or worthy of that. I look upon it as an important opportunity to just encourage everybody to do exactly what they do. I read once that maybe 30,000 people are wrongly convicted in the jail. We know that the Innocence Project has already 165 people on death row. And we know it's a human system, human fallibility, juries make mistakes, judges make mistakes. But there's thousands of people in jail who should not be in jail. They need you. They need people like you in this audience to represent them. Somebody has the responsibility, the moral responsibility of this country, to pay attention to the people who are wrongfully convicted. It's as simple as that. It's common sense. We should have more and more people, more foot soldiers. You should not have to work as hard as you work to accomplish something so basic, so much common sense, so decent. You should all feel wonderful about yourself. And, this affair should be in the White House, that's for me. And hopefully it'll be there one of these days. So to end this, thank you for your patience and working here. Is that, Jeffrey, I'd like to really give you my award. And what you've done is just extraordinary. Jawan, you get all the awards in the world. And what a pleasure and honor it is for you to finally meet me after just seeing you on paper. And we will share this part of our lives, I think, together. The judge and the ex-prisoner. They're marching together.
Apologies that they couldn't be here, but they thank you. And it's my pleasure to present you with the It Could Happen to You, Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award. Not only for your work here, but also for your great work in my case. Thank you.
Very good enough.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to thank everybody for coming. Give me a little time to stick around, share stories, and there's a lot of